Welcome to Center Heights Productions. It is November the 27th, 2023. Please hit the likes and the subscribe down below. I appreciate your support, and thank you to my followers. I muchly appreciate it. Let's try to get 150 likes. This is part 4 of the special series of our prospects because, a lot of people are pumping our tires, and our offense is nowhere near to where our defense is. And now this one's a tougher episode to do because it's on our defense and our goaltending. And that's where we did do well, especially on the defense. We are going to fly on defense. Our offense needs tons of work because we've got 4 guys, possibly 6, but I think more so 4 guys in that offensive group that have a chance, but it'll be line 3, line 4 material. I honestly think they'd be lucky to crack the second line, but I don't see it. I think we got work to do with our forward group. I think what we have in the system is third and fourth liners in the forward group. However, we're going to break this down very brief. I'm going to try to make this very briefly because this is where we excelled in our drafting, was in the defense. It's a great problem because it's also going to. I also put the guys, all the rookies well, they're not rookies, sophomore year, all the guys that are presently doing year 2 in this group because there's so much competition in the next couple of years. We've got a lot of depth on defense. There's a couple of guys on this in our present group that could get pushed out. 2 to 3 guys could initially get pushed out of this, believe it or not, when the amount of defensemen we've got that are going to go to Laval next year. And we're seeing one guy, Reddy Struvel's already looking like he's ready. He could push out one of 2 or 3 guys there, and I wouldn't be surprised. So, great problem. He's definitely NHL material if he doesn't make the Habs. However, I think he brings grit, which might give him a boost on Barron, Harris, more so, and Lidstrom. So we're going to name the guys down in our system between Laval and the juniors that will be more like defensemen that won't cut the NHL and will be maybe a career AHLers. So we got this. Brassard. Bodine is questionable. If he does make the to the NHL level, he won't crack the Habs. He'll be somebody we can use as a blue chip. So he's a question mark. Keeper's going to be AHL material. Golopan's going to be same thing, AHL material. There was another defenseman that I know I had, and I don't know where I put him. So there could be a couple of guys I have missing. So forgive me if I do, because that just means they weren't anything big enough of importance to crack the line in my books. Because I know there's a short one. What is Tournier, that's the other fella. He won't. He'll be AHL material. He's just far too small. He's got a lot of skill, but he's not going to crack the NHL. And then we have keeper Wong, Gillipin, I said, and Jones. As big as 6'7" Jones is, I watch his play, and he doesn't hit anywhere near what he should be able to hit. He's not physical enough. His skating's got a lot of work to is something to, question. He's, to me, AHL career defenseman as well. So that being said, that's the guys that definitely in my books I don't think will cut the NHL group. Like I said, Boudin might out of that group. And then we got Misselstadt and Norlander. I just think Norlander, he's showing he's got NHL potential. We've got to see him in the NHL, though, in season games. But I think those 2 could be NHLers trade bait. So that's another 2 that you could use to trade. Then we get into the group, and we got so many guys. I didn't realize there was this amount of players. And I'm only, I think it adds up to somewhere around 12 defensemen, and when it's all said and done, that got a chance. That could push, and they're going to have to just take the cream of the crop out of the group of them. Now they're not going to break the lineup anytime immediately. They probably all will need, other than Struble and Trudeau and Norlander. I think those are the three that could actually possibly be ready. But I think Struble's the only one out of the three that would be ready to challenge right now that can crack the lineup, possibly. The other two, I think, more like Mrs. Stat and Norlander are more trade bait. I just don't think there's just too much talent. But then we got Sobolev. I put him in the Habs group of making the Habs only, and that's why there's so many of them in this group, because I haven't seen enough of some of these guys, and I cannot say when all is said and done, and that's probably like 2 years time, that they may get a crack at the Habs lineup where the dogfight begins in 2 years time. But Sobolev's there, Kostenko, and he's got a good right up in Russia, doing some great things. So there's a challenger there, and we don't know enough on him. And then you got Koyushkov, who's just blowing records out of in the defensive group over there in Russia, and he really looks like a major threat that possibly could push somebody out. So that's why I've got him in making the Habs as well. And then, of course, I got Struble, which, to me, I got to say, he's looking better to me than Lidstrom. He's looking better to me, and he brings that grit, which I think Barron's got to watch out, and Harris has got to watch out. I think it's just because he brings that physical side, and we need it. And he plays a smart, he's more of take care of his defensive zone. So I think right now he's the only challenger, I think, this season that could push somebody out. And I think Lidstrom would be the first guy to move down. It's a great problem to have because this just says Weidman's done in my books. Savard will probably, to me, you got to move him on when this is showing signs of happening now. I think if Savard gets through this season, you got to move him, let him go. And because there's just too many kids coming now. Now with Struble there, I think you got to let these kids develop and take their positions. And I think Matheson can be the leader for sure back there that can carry on. He can probably go another 3 years to 4 years because by the time these kids settle in. So with that being said, we got to the Russian defenseman. Then we got Trudeau. Trudeau to me is NHL material, but he can't crack Montreal. There's too much talent. Logan Mailloux. This is hard, and he had such a great write up coming out of the juniors, but he missed so much junior time that he's playing a lot of catch up there in Laval, and Laval's not looking good defensively, especially the defense corps. This is the funny part: we got a lot of depth, but our defensive group is actually looking weak down there because it's a lack of experience in actuality. So to me, like I say, now the Struble's up with us. Trudeau's your top guy, and he doesn't. I can't see him staying cracking Montreal's lineup. He's kind of going backwards in development. And Norlander, he looks like he's showed signs in preseason, but he's got to play in the season games to get a better view of it. But he looks like he could make the NHL, but he won't be able to steal a job from these guys. So he'll have to be. He could be a blue chip player used. And Middlestat, I just put him in that group, and Bodine could be in that group, like I said. We got Bassar, Keeper, Killipin, and Jones. They're going to be career AHLers in my book, not even cracked NHL. So then you got after that you got, of course, Lane Hudson. I think this guy could be phenomenal, and I had him originally thinking he would be a pairing for him and Reinbacher in the future. Now he's not. He's going to be going to the age. Him and Reinbacher, I believe, will play in Laval next year, and they're going to need that year. But when they come up, I used to think it would be those two together. I don't think so. If they're really blowing Lane Hudson, and he does look good offensively. Um, if he's that good and can translate it to the NHL, I think him and Gooley are the 1-2 punch. I think Gooley is your number one guy, and I think Hudson can be your number two, and that could be a great pairing because Hudson can do sort of give you that offensive side that like Markov had or Sheldon Surrey had, and give you that offensive side, or Gaston Gingras and you know Chelios type of. Although Chelios was pretty good defensively, but I think Gooley's the type of guy that can. He's got an offense side to him too, so he'll be able to cover lane because he's so fast. His speed is so high, and getting back, he does a wonderful job. That's why I say he's automatic. I don't care what anyone says, number one, because he's there now. Lane's got to prove that he can translate. Gooley has translated and will keep getting better. So I think that's actually, and it changed my view because I used to think it was going to be Gooley and Mayu. I don't know if Mayu's even going to be in the group on our defense in the future. He's not playing great defensively. He's got a great offensive side. I think he can be in Montreal's organization. I hope they kind of figure it out with the amount of talent that's being fought for. I'd like to see them put him as a winger because I think he could be the missing piece for Suzuki and Caulfield with that size because he likes to crash and bang, could insulate them a bit, and he's got the offensive smarts. So just something I hope that Hughes and St. Louis and Gordon listen to these podcasts because just to put a bug in their head. I think that my you would be we need to size up front, and that's where we're a little weaker. We got four players that we think will crack Montreal, in the forward group, but they're down in like for the most part third to fourth liners. Then one could pull out maybe up into a second line if lucky, and that to me would be like Waugh or Heineman. But I more or less think they're more third liners. I think they would be good with Beck. To tell you the truth, I think that would be a perfect third line. And that'll be as we get Gallagher moving on and stuff like that. But anyway, out of this defensive group, you got a great problem. And then you got Enstrom. And this guy's just knocking things out of the ballpark, too. So, great problem to have. And he's just so solid. We don't know what's going to happen in this mess because right now, when you look at it, to me, you can't move Jack Eye because of what he brings. And he will improve. He's adjusting, trying to get used to systems. You can tell that seems to be the issue before he got hurt. But I think he's solid. I think now, I didn't think Harris was going to be threatened so soon. But with Struble coming up and playing so strong, and because he's so much more physical and very good defensively, it really puts Barron, Lidstrom, and Harris as possible guys that you could move. Hate to say it because I love Harris. He's just so smooth, but it's kind of scary. And that's also if Struble can prove to be a consistent and steady, because I wouldn't mind having another guy that is tough on that left side. Wouldn't that be something, Gooley, Struble, if he can play consistent, and Jack-Eye on the left side? That would just be so much muscle. Your left side would be the bulk of the solid players. Um, However, again, like I say, in the future, I think you got to let Matheson stick around 3 to 4 years, that he can be the leader, just to be the example for those younger guys as they break in. That being said, that's how I broke down and it's a great problem to have. And I forgot to mention Rohrer being a threat to that he could possibly be in the group that possibly could crack Montreal in the future. We don't know. Don't know enough. He's got to play in Laval and stuff like that and see how it translates. But I put him in that group just to say because he's getting good write-ups. That's for your offense. And and I wanted to make it clear with what's his name, Florian Jack-Eye. I forgot to mention him in the forward group. Don't take that wrong because he's playing exceptional, and if he keeps going the direction he's going, he is showing some stuff now, which is good because he didn't look great in the preseason. But he's young, but from what he's showing in the juniors there, he's lighting it up. And if he does translate to get himself to the NHL level, he'll be the perfect type of guy that will crack Montreal if he can get to the NHL. If he can make the NHL level, he'll be a perfect winger for Montreal, and he'll be exactly what they need. So nobody thinks that I was just keeping him out and pushing him out. No, he's a I'll say it again. I did say he's a unicorn player. Now we go to the goaltending. Goaltending's tricky. We got positives and negatives. Um, More positives, I think, with the guys we've drafted recently. I think you're going to have in the future probably Dobes and Miller have a better chance of getting there before the guys that will actually be the future goaltenders. They'll get there ahead of them, and they'll probably push out whoever's out of our group that's in Montreal right now. Dovish, kid yourself not. We can slam him. He might be. He could end up being taking one of those guys' job in maybe 2 years time, because they'll be ready before Fowler and the guy. I think Fowler and Volo Volokin. I can't say his name, but him in Russia. If he's getting better write ups than what Shesterkin, Shirokin, and Valaleski got in Russia, and if that is the case, he could end up being your starter. So it could be a dogfight between Fowler and him. But I think those two are your future goaltenders in Montreal. But they're going to be slower being developed totally. So that'll give guys like Dovish and Miller a chance. Maybe they cover for a season or two or something. You know, um, that's about all they're going to probably get, because they easily could push out any of these three goaltenders. I think once they're developed, I think they have a chance. I should say. I think Dovish is don't kid yourself. Laval's not bad because of him. He's actually, I think they would have got torn apart if it wasn't for him. And I think Mann's a joke. That's not even an age. I don't even know if he's good enough for the AHL. The guy that's with him, he's definitely not NHL material. And then we had a guy that I couldn't get a pick of, Croteau. He's from the Quebec League, goalie, and I'm not hearing enough on him. So I just kind of put him with Mann as guys that are just AHL goalies. That's what I kind of did. And, like I said, it's going to be a good problem in 4 years' time for goaltenders, but I think it's going to take about 4 years because I don't know if they're going to be ready that quickly, because, Fowler and Volochkin got to be in Laval at least a season just to see what they can do. Though, like I say, these Russian goaltenders, they seem to have taken the lead in developing goaltenders. And if that's the case, Fowler might have to fight for that number one spot. But it's a great problem. I like Fowler because he's got that fighting mentality. But this Volchinkin, or whatever you want to call him, he's got better numbers than those three Russians. And the Russians have taken over the goaltenders. It seems in development. They seem to be producing better goaltenders than any other country. So this could be a great thing. That could be your number one. One of those two is going to be your number one for sure, and the other guy's going to be the backup. And Dovish, like I said, Dovish and Miller, to me, they got a chance to. Kid yourself not. I think they will turn into NHL capable goaltenders. I think they'll end up having to be traded, because you'll have Fowler and Borchinkin probably be so elite that they'll have to move those two on. Trade bargaining tips. So that's your defensive, and I had to put your defensive crew. Other than I didn't put Matheson and Savard in that because of the veterans. I didn't put even Weidman. Weidman, to me, if he ever comes back, either you just let him go on waivers and somebody picks him up, or he ends up in Laval to help out that situation, because that they do need some veterans down there just to walk them through. Because I don't know if Mayu missed so much junior time. I think that's the problem that he's having. His defensive side of the game really needs work. He might have to spend an extra season in Laval. So I don't think Mayu is coming up to Montreal. People can get excited about his offensive game. That's great that he's got a good offensive game. He's got too much to work on the defensive game. That's why, personally for me, can you imagine if Florian makes it, Jack Guy, to NHL material? and he's showing great signs right now. Can you imagine having a small center, let's just use an example, someone as small as New Hook, let's say, but I don't think New York's a center. But if you had somebody that small, wouldn't those two be the perfect wingers? And they might be the perfect guys to insulate, even Caulfield and Suzuki, right? Like that type of situation. So this could be, because we got to beef up. That's going to be our problem area, is for our drafting on from here on in has to be forwards, and they have to be big, and they have to be talented. I know, we also got the message from Hughes last week stating he wasn't looking for a superstar. He wants to build forward solid lines, and I can understand his point now that he kind of gave himself away. That's they're looking to build us like Vegas. So with that being said, we may end up having better goaltending when it's all said and done, and a really superb. We're going to have like one of the best defenses in the league. There's no doubt in my mind. My only thing is Mayu and Lane Hudson is translation to the NHL, and I think Lane has a better chance of that. Lane just reminds me more of Fox than McCarr. I see more of a resemblance in his game, and that's a great resemblance. He can turn into an Adam Fox type. That's great because that's what he's looking like right now. And I honestly think with that type of player, him and Gooley would be a perfect match for the future in a pairing. And then, like I said, God knows who's going to be in the second pairing. But I still think Jack Eye's a guarantee that should plug into that third pairing with whoever comes out of that mess for his partner. Because I think Kasevich could be 2 seasons more, and he might be like Matheson, where although he could get pushed sooner than Matheson, it's hard to say with the talent that's coming up. Because Struble looks like he's going to push somebody out. If Struble can be consistent in his game because he's looked good, um, it's a great problem because it's definitely given us three players that are NHL material and could be traded and used into chips. That gives us Barron, Harris, and Lindstrom would be the first guy to go out of that three for me because I really like Harris and I do like the improvement in Barron. And if they had to be moved, and they got something to worry about if Struvel's got consistency because right now you have Matheson, Cooley, and Jack Eye on that left side. So you're almost in a situation unless, and I don't know if Matheson would be willing to play the right side. I really don't know. But yeah, you're going to have to move out Savard after this season, there's no doubt. And I know they need leaders, but I think Matheson could carry it. And I think that'd be like year three for the group of kids that's there right now. Enough experience that they'd be okay because there's going to be more kids coming up. Like Struble is probably the only guy I can see this year cracking the defense if anybody does. And it would be great. I can't even imagine to have Cooley, Struble, and Jack Eye on that right side while you have one real tough crew there. So that would be great. And then you let Lane Hudson. Whether you have to convert one of those guys into a right defenseman, I don't know what happens. That could be the other deciding factor. But Lane Hudson and Reinbacher, to me, they'll crack the lineup, but they got another year. They got to play in Laval at least a season. So you're looking 2 years away for those two before they have to disturb the defensive troops and put the challenge out again. So you'll have the rest of the defensemen that can take a spot for the time being for 2 seasons. But after that, that could change radically with the amount of defense. There's about 12 guys there in total, counting the guys that are already there. The 4 or 5 guys we have there. No, actually, there's about 5 or 6. Sorry. You just add another 6 guys to that, and you've got a dogfight for your future defense. But I think it's a problem where they're going to be all really good defensemen, and you're going to be able to use them as bargaining chips. Those who you don't choose for the pack, you can move on in trades. So yeah, I can honestly right now say I see Wayne Hudson, Gooley, Reinbacher, Struble, maybe, and Jackeye with maybe Barron or Enstrom, or again, this Russian defenseman that is blowing up the league over there. So we can't count these guys out. So, but I think things are shaping up well. So we did well in our defensive end, and the coaching is situational. Run it through real fast. Marty's done a wonderful job, but I think what they're doing, there's no sense of changing anything this season. While they're in mid-season, there's no rush. We're still developing, and I'd like to see us tank. That's why I'd almost like to see us trade Allen, as much as I like him the best out of the three. But I think where he's older, he creates more value. Um, it would give us a better chance to tank, in my opinion, because you'd really put the heat on Montembeault, and I don't think he's good. And that's a problem with him and Allen, that they go back and forth. But I don't think he has the experience Allen has, and to have him and Primo for this season, you'd tank really well. So that's why I kind of like to see Allen move on. But I think your future goaltenders, we're seeing them come, and it's a great problem to have, because I honestly think Govich and Miller could end up, doing a 2-year stint while we're waiting for Fowler and that Russian goaltender to come up and take the reins, and then they can be trade bait, right? Once those two are actual two guys that are going to lead us to a Stanley Cup come. So great looking. We have that. It looks like we have those areas resolved: defense and goaltending. Wouldn't hurt to draft one more goaltender though. But I say all of our drafts now, we should be fully focused on finding that star player on offense and sizing up, because we need a bunch of big wingers. We got a problem. That's what's killing us now in our system down in Laval and the juniors, is we got so many. They're talented, but they're so small that it's ruining the game in a lot of respects. So it's keeping them at the level of mostly third liners, unless someone like Wall can push it to a second line. I don't know. It's questionable, but him and Heineman, to me, are the only ones that I could see doing that, because they're different style of players. But I don't know if I think they'd be perfect third liners, to tell you the truth, and back down the middle of them, because I honestly think, it's gonna get interesting, but we got to size up, and I do think Mayu should be turned into a winger. I think he's the perfect answer to insulate a guy like Caulfield, because there's such a dogfight on defense that why get rid of such good defensemen if they're that good defensively? Why not just turn him into a winger? And imagine having him and Florian. Because Florian, if he turns into an NHLer, he's the exact type we need on the wing. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. And like I said, for coaches, we got to move on from Burroughs. And I even think we got to move on from Robitaille. I don't think they're NHL material. And their contract is up this summer. I think Marty's doing a great job, but he needs to be insulated with a couple of really good veteran coaches. So what types you look for? To me, a Le Cavalier or a Carbonneau would be ideal for the special teams on offense. Both different style a little bit, but they both are experts at it. Carbonneau's proven it coaching wise. And defense, I don't know. Can you find somebody like a Robinson type? I don't know who's out there for defenses, but I just don't think the communication with not a knock against Robitaille, but I don't think he's communicating or enough for that defensive group. So thank you for joining me. Where does the puck drop first? Center Heist Productions. Thank you. Tell your friends and family. We will catch you in the next episode after our game Wednesday against Columbus. This finalizes our 4-part series. Thank you for joining me. Tell your friends, hit the likes, leave your comments, and tell me what you think. I know it's going to be controversial, what everybody thinks. And we thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you after the Columbus game Wednesday night. So thank you, and that completes the series, I promised. Take care. God bless.